Hey, everybody. I'm Tatiana founder of Nurturing Clarity, which is a leadership development firm that enables leaders to actualize their highest potential and expand their range to deliver innovation and results. And this is our podcast, Radiant Growth, where we highlight leaders and creators during short, focused interviews to discuss something unique and surprising about their work. I'd like to introduce our guest, Meltem Naz Kaso, founder and career coach at Career with Mel. Mel is a globally recognized UX career coach who spent over 10 years transforming careers across 9 countries. Known for her direct and empowering style, Mel helps UX professionals gain clarity, confidence, and momentum, whether they're navigating a pivot, burnout, or their next big leap. Prior to UX career coaching, Mel worked for over a decade in UX research leadership, both in staff and managerial positions, in-house and agencies, and startups to corporate. Mel and I met on LinkedIn and we bonded over our shared backgrounds in coaching and UX research, as well as our shared interest in this intersection of career evolution and parenthood. And I'm going to be speaking with Mel today about building her own practice and reflections on Career with Mel's 2-year anniversary. So Mel, welcome and congrats on Career with Mel's 2-year anniversary. Tell us about yourself and anything I might have not mentioned in the introduction.
Thank you so much, Tatu. It's great to be here and you've done a great job. Maybe one thing I want people to know is that I'm based in Barcelona. I serve clients globally. A lot of my clients come from the US or North America overall, and a lot of others also are from Europe, continental Europe. But of course, being in Barcelona, the culture here, the lifestyle, the sun, all those things I'm grateful for. So I want people to know that. And I'm mother of 2 kids. So you told already to our audience that this is also one of the ways through which we are bonded. And I love to help tech workers, in particular UXers, to grow in their careers, proactively avoid burnout. And also I work with transitioners, career transitioners, focusing on what's next. So this is a little bit the space I navigate.
What motivated you to build Career with Mel and the types of coaching that you do there?
So it was quite an organic development, Tati. I had been doing it about 7 years prior to going all in, leaving my full-time job and doing Career with Mel. So the certifications, learnings, the skills, experiences gathered to coach, to train, to mentor, they were happening on the side. But the real change in my mindset, Tati, from going to, okay, this has been my side hustle, from that mindset to, well, this could actually take a central role. It came from me observing the market. What I've seen happening, especially in the tech world, was a lot of layoffs, reorgs, a lot of uncertainty in tech workers, especially UXers, where people at scale begin to realize that they can do their best work, do everything right, but still be deactivated the next day. So there was a lot of career anxiety where simple rules of improving your technical expertise or doing things right wasn't really cutting it. And I recognized the gap and I realized that, hey, our careers is not our current title, is not our current place of work. We need a place to reinvent ourselves if we feel that this is the right thing for us, or at least, understand our strengths, understand what motivates us, position ourselves strategically, and really care for ourselves, because we need to really have that empowerment. And I felt like with the challenges tech workers were going through, especially in the UX, it was the right time because no one else was doing it. Companies no longer, even if they offered full-time employment, they weren't interested in investing.
It has been a really difficult few years for the UX industry. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of insecurity because that steady full-time job, like in a corporate career, it's not as steady and secure as many people thought it would be. And the other thing I really love what you're saying is a career is not just one company. It's not just one job. In my case, I've explained to folks several times, your career is not just the career ladder at that company. It's much broader. So I love that you're bringing that up. And I'm curious, could you tell us a little bit more about the kind of work you do at Career with Mel? What are some of your offerings and some of the ways you work with UXers?
So after working with career transitioners and UXers in particular, I looked back with the curiosity and rigor of a researcher and asked myself, okay, what are we doing here? What is the very thing that is helping us deliver results and have people feel satisfied with the outcomes? This is how the CARE framework was born. CARE framework, Tati, stands for C for clarity, A for alignment, R for resilience, and E for expression. Clarity matters because most people are like, hey, I want this title, I want this job, I need this and I need that. But hey, wait a minute, have that inner clarity first, right? And I'm not seeking perfect clarity where 20 steps ahead of exactly what to do and how to do it, because the world around you is changing, so are you. But just enough clarity and knowing yourself as the greatest tool you can use. Alignment also matters because what is important is to understand yourself enough and aim for the right thing, knowing the goal behind your goal and making sure that you're seeking results that actually click with who you are, your values, your needs, and whatnot. So aiming for the right thing so that it is sustainable in the long run. The R arguably is one of my favorites because even if you have clarity, even if you have alignment, you need to be resilient because it's not so obvious. It's not going to be so straightforward. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be unexpected or expected challenges, surprises, many things along the way. And one of the things I keep saying to my clients is that it is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you got to be resilient. And expression also matters because many people I work with are so talented and experienced, Tati. They're like, hey, my work speaks for itself. I'm not going to knock any doors. I'm not going to do anything. I need to be discovered. But then the question becomes, if you don't make your thought process visible, if your judgment isn't apparent, if people don't understand your point of view and the value you can deliver, how can you really expect to click with the right opportunities? So expression in that sense is to formulate a point of view and find the right places and the right people in the right ways to express it. And so that you can position yourself in the most strategic ways that deliver values. This is not like a step-by-step approach. We do these things in parallel and we go back and forth when the needs arise.
Yeah, what's really standing out to me is you're such a researcher in the way you approach coaching
I do. I'm like always hypothesis generation and
and
research.
observing the data. What are the gaps? What are the actual needs that people have? And I'm curious, like, how does this care framework, which is a very unique way that you approach your practice, how does it come out with like individuals, like the work you're doing with individuals, and then the work you do with teams?
Mostly when people come to me for one-to-one coaching, they recognize that their career need, Tati, is important and is urgent, and they are feeling the pain strongly. They have tried to do it themselves. It didn't work. So I normally start with, of course, every case is different. It's quite customized, but I usually start with a 90 minutes strategy session where we come prepared and we run these activities. So after that, we have the beginnings of an action plan. We prioritize the needs. We know what to experiment with every future session. When I do work with the teams, one thing I realize that because each individual is different in terms of their backgrounds, personalities, their needs, I tend to choose a much narrower scope and make it a lot more actionable and in a way that every individual can engage as a team, but also on their own so that it's, it delivers value and it is relevant to everyone.
The other thing that's standing out to me is like how customized your work is for the client, depending on the individual or the team at hand. And yeah, so customized and how you're fitting care framework to fit that. And now I'm going back to Career with Mel. As you're reflecting on these past 2 years building this practice, what's the most important lesson that you've learned in building your business? And can you share an example?
I love that. For me, it's been a game changer. Like I was saying at the beginning, having a full-time job and making your needs meet in terms of, your mortgage payment, school fees, all the adulting, and having your own business, focusing on the revenue part of it and focusing on everything around demand generation and sales and marketing and delivering the work and the post relationships you formulate with your clients, doing it end to end made me really realize that certainty is really quite hard to dictate. Like you do many events, I speak at conferences, write articles, do podcast episodes like these. So I need to increase my capacity to have faith in a sense of I keep the momentum, I'm doing the right things, and I trust that things will happen at the right time instead of pushing things. Because, one thing you learn being an entrepreneur, you don't have a salary at the end of the month. So you need to make peace with this uncertainty, keep waking up every day, keep creating certainty when there is none. So this has been an exciting inner challenge, as well as, of course, challenge towards fulfilling your responsibilities with your kids and so on.
So much lessons in resilience there.
I would say so. Yeah. Even when I'm experiencing a harder month, I can say, I've done it before, I can do it again. I think that
Mm.
gives you a certain sort of confidence that allows you to unlock opportunities with that self-belief because you've done it before. And that's beautiful.
The other thing that's coming to me is this element of surprise in growth. I'm curious, what's the most surprising way that you've seen your clients grow?
The thing that I love the most is how confident they became.
Mm.
That it was about preparation, it was about structure, it was about planning. We've done all those things. Rest assured we did. But the thing that right now they can do that they weren't able to do as much is that my clients are able to err on the side of action. They,
Mm. That's
imagine you're with
powerful.
imposter. Yeah, like with imposter syndrome, you're finding million reasons not to do things. Just do it. Have enough clarity. You know your next step. You know the big picture. You don't need to have 20 steps lined up. Just do it. That's experimentation mindset. We are gathering data. You face rejections. No problem. Rejections are really about that person rejecting you in that given context in the way you're asking. Which of these variables can we change to then seek a different result the next time? We are collecting data. We're approaching it with non-judgmental awareness. So I'm looking into the work of many of my clients because I'm in touch with many of those long after we finish our programs, and they're really out there and they love
Mm.
the process. They believe in themselves. They go for things. They don't need their doors to be knocked. They're the ones that knock. And that is beautiful.
I can really tell you worked in product development because
You
there's
can
a there's an element of you're doing research, right? But it can only go so far. And sometimes you need to build the thing, and see how is the customer reacting to that. And that leads to more insights. The other thing is like with confidence, how do you feel like how do you define confidence, right? And what's the opposite of that?
For me, confidence is really about being bold, being daring, and the ability to act, not because you have full data, full information, full picture, because you'll never have that full information. There's always going to be unanswered questions. There's always going to be doubts. There's always going to be trade-offs. But
Mhm.
confidence is really about being able to dare and being able to convince yourself because you know that things can go, different ways. And there's going to be things that you'll need to learn along the way, but you trust in your ability to adapt and you trust in your ability to adjust and learn and drive results along the way. A lot of people I work with tend to think at the beginning that they need to have the full picture, full action plan, be ready for any questions that they might be asked, be ready for any problems that things might go wrong. And like here, this is really about getting enough clarity, but building our muscles to also handle uncertainty and trust in our
Mm.
abilities to respond diligently as challenges arise. One of the things that I love the most and I was so curious about since we met, I think over a year ago, I would say
Mm.
by now, is the name of your company, Nurturing Clarity. I'm
Mm.
curious about the name and what that says about the relationship that you see between reflection and action.
Well, thank you so much for asking. Yeah, so that relationship between reflection, research, and action and experimentation, it's directly in the company name, Nurturing Clarity. Clarity stands for enhanced self awareness and situational awareness of both yourself and your context. So it's these insights that you're getting. And this can be work around your North Star. So, for example, understanding your vision. What's the change and the life that you want to create? It can be around uncovering your values. What are the things that are important to you? Getting clear on your purpose. So, what's the impact or change that you want to create in the world or your life? It's also understanding saboteurs, which are the things that might be there to protect you, but actually end up holding you back if you rely on them long term. And then, in a very realistic way, also understanding the risks and constraints of managing change, right? So, like, what are you able to do right now? How do you manage through that while holding your larger vision? The nurture is about having a focused strategy and intentional action across time. This is very longitudinal. You can do research on yourself and like introspect and reflect. And that's very important, but it's only going to go so far. At some point, you have to take action and you're going to learn by doing and you're going to readjust. And that's great, right? And this is like a very cyclical relationship that you're going through clarity and nurture. And then as you're going through that relationship, I believe you enter a third component, which is evolution. This is growth in ways that are directed, the ways that you want it to grow, but it's also growth that's unexpected, growth that can be surprising and really magical, like stuff you didn't expect to come out of your coaching. And I think that's the stuff that can be really surprising and really powerful in terms of holistic growth. So that's how I see it.
I love it. It's so beautiful. Like all your clients, current and the future ones, are so lucky because I will say that for the naming and for your intention and also your approach, because I know that this is a value that you perform in each and every interaction in our collaboration as well. So I'm grateful that we had the space to share.
Thanks so much, Mel. Yeah, and thanks for coming here to chat with us about your work. How can folks learn more about you and about Career with Mel?
Amazing. Well, my website, careerwithmel.com, easy to spell, easy to remember. It brings together everything, all the podcasts I've joined, all the articles, information about me, all the free resources. There's my email address to contact at Career with Mel. I literally read every email, and a lot of my future clients or collaborators reach out to me from there. And my LinkedIn. You can also find like Mel, Career with Mel. I'm sure you're going to share the link. And I post from Monday to Friday. A lot of it is fun. A lot of these are reflections and things that people can also start using. So that's also a good place to hit the connect button.
Definitely. Everyone follow Mel on LinkedIn. Her posts are very fun.
That's not my post about my grandma and things. So it's like, it's really everything.
It is. It's very holistic. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Mel, for joining, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.
Bye.